That is spectacular, isn't it?
That is so
the cloud has just cleared and the sun has just given it some light. The wind's picked up, we're flying along towards Svalbard, and then the mist and the cloud around the peaks just dissipated, and the sun, we're still at cloud above us, but it's clearly sun above Svalbard, and it's just lit it up in a golden glow. It looks amazing.
Wow. He's just getting tipped out of bed.
Yeah. And he was like, oh, we're leaning over. I was like, come and have a look.
Suddenly sailing over on the other tack. Wow, that was worth getting up for.
Worth getting out of bed for?
Yeah.
Yeah. To give a sense of scale, which I've just realised, we're still 45 miles away from the coast. So those peaks are massive, because it's still going to take us another 8 hours to get there. Amy was like, do you need to go to bed? I was like, no, I'm good, but let's get there. And then I realised it's a long way to go still. But yeah, that's partly the midnight sun tricking my mind into thinking I don't need any sleep. There must have been a raining or a snowing cloud between us and the peaks, because I could see kind of snow from way off, and then it all disappeared, and then suddenly it just appeared with that golden glow over it. Amazing. What a sight to arrive to. This was worth sailing north for, eh?
Midnight, and it is, as you can see, really bright, but I didn't realise quite how high in the sky the sun would be at this time of the year. We're just coming up to the longest day of the year, a couple of days off it, and yeah, it's not just skirting around the horizon, that is a high sun.
Sighting Svalbard for the first time is an emotional experience. It is both the start of our true high Arctic exploration and also the culmination of a long journey to get here.
That journey is not just made up of the 2,242 miles that we've sailed so far in this series. It began way back in 2020, when the idea of sailing to the cold polar region was just a way to mentally escape the heat that we were enduring when locked down on the equator for 4 months in remote Indonesia.
That idea then grew during the days and weeks spent staring at endless ocean waves as we sailed across 3 oceans to return Florence home and complete our circumnavigation.
Once home, getting ourselves and Florence to Svalbard became our focus. We launched into a huge refit of Florence to make her ready for this voyage. It was an intense time and nearly broke us, but the goal of getting here was the constant that pulled us through.
Now, with these icy peaks appearing before us, we feel a huge excitement of that initial idea finally bearing fruit. We can't wait to explore and experience something that will be completely different to anything we have seen or done before.
So cool. Well, this is another thing we've never done before, isn't it?
Amazing! Like, yeah, sailed to Svalbard, bam! Right to the face of a glacier. Gorgeous! I just was not expecting to see this amount this quickly. I'm already filling up SD cards, I'm afraid.
I better try and pick our way through here.
Yeah.
I think if I come to starboard a bit, we can dodge some of those ones. It's pretty amazing, no matter where you look.
I'm going to try and bucket one of these.
Amy's going to try and catch an iceberg in a bucket.
It's like one of those games. Good one.
Hair crown game. It's not going to work. Oh, 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 no.
Come on, help me out, Florence.
Fail.
I think it gets a bit much from here, love. What do you think?
I think we can get over there a bit, but then clearer to the left, but straight ahead is too much. There's bits carving off the glacier. Made a massive noise. We just turned the engine off. We're just drifting here in amongst these small ice cubes, which are quite large enough to do some damage if we hit them. So just being careful. But oh, it's amazing. It's so still today. No wind whatsoever. I know you've got the sounds of the Arctic terns, and then where we've got blue on the glacier, it's where it's just carved off. And it almost went in slow motion. And it's still all moving out. You can hear it cracking, and even as you go past the smaller little icebergs on the way in, you can hear them cracking and popping as they're melting.
This is just mind-blowingly beautiful. I have to admit, when we were in Norway, we were both thinking, it's so amazing and beautiful here. Like, what are we doing sailing to Svalbard? Is this really the right thing? But just today, I mean, we've not even been here a full day, and it's already worth it. What an incredible place. Welcome to Svalbard.
This is stunning. Absolutely stunning. I didn't think on the first morning, within like a couple of hours of arriving, we'd be at the face of a glacier with bits carving off it, creating big cracking rumbling sounds, and waves coming out from where the icebergs or the chunks of ice are crashing down into the water to become icebergs. Threading Florence between the bergy-bits as we come in. Yeah, on a gloriously sunny day and a balmy 6 degrees.
And to top it all off, it's your birthday. Happy birthday, my love.
I wonder what you're doing.
I haven't made a cake, I'm afraid, but it's the best I can do.
I'll make a wish.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. Not a bad way to spend the day. We just turn the engine off and we are just going to drift here. It's about 80 meters deep, so we can't anchor, but there's no wind. We're not going anywhere. We're just going to drift here and enjoy the view. This is our balcony, this is our veranda, and enjoy being here next to this glacier, something neither of us have ever done before. Never ever been somewhere like this. This is very new and it's awesome.
Bacon sandwich.
Thank you very much.
We are now at 77 degrees north. That is 630 miles north of the Arctic Circle, and over 120 miles further north than the northernmost point of the Northwest Passage. Here we are only 780 miles from the North Pole, and we're not finished with sailing north yet. The only reason we can sail this far north in summer without encountering sea ice is because of the warming effect of the Gulf Stream in this area.
Oh, really cute. Hi. The ice you can see here is not sea ice. This ice is carved off one of Svalbard's 2,000 or so glaciers. We still need to avoid hitting it though, as it's solid and can do a lot of damage to Florence.
Amy, pokey stick at the ready, defending Florence from the icebergs.
Not icebergs.
Bergy-bits, ice cubes, hard things that are floating around.
They're like rocks.
Job done. That'll go well in the G&T later. Don't know where we need to put it to stop it from melting. Oh no, we'll just leave it out on deck. It'll be fine.
So we've just come around the corner from the glacier. You can probably actually still see it in the background behind me. And here there's a really nice protected, sheltered anchorage where we can hopefully get some rest. But before we do that, we obviously need to make the most of the ice that we collected. So what better way to do that than with a gin and tonic? We've got some bramble gin from my home county, Yorkshire, some ice and some lemon. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, that's lovely.
With the weather files showing no decent wind for the whole week, we left Hornsson knowing it would be a challenge to sail the 120 miles north to Longyearbyen, where we can check in to Svalbard and pick up a rifle for protection against polar bears. We set out under engine, just hoping to find a zephyr of breeze further offshore.
We felt lucky to pick up some breeze and be able to sail, but it was slow going with lots of concentration on sail trim required to keep Florence moving.
There is not a lot of wind out here. Not a problem I thought we'd be having a lot sailing up to the Arctic, but it is a problem we've been having a lot recently. But it's beautiful out here, we're just ghosting along. It's mirror calm, the reflections are amazing. Normally we have a rule on Florence where if we're making less than 2 knots, then we'll turn the engine on, but I'm kind of doing just about 2 knots at the moment. But I'm not really sure I want to turn the engine on when we aren't doing 2 knots, because it's just beautiful just to be out here, and even if we're drifting. It's calmer than a lot of anchorages we've been in. It's absolutely magnificent. But we are not making much progress forward. Look at the polar bears. Polar bear.
We're coming to the main town in Longyearbyen, and this is the main port in Svalbard as well. So as you can see, it's really busy, and it's probably the most visited area of Svalbard, although it's far from being the most beautiful, but that's because it's the easiest to get to. There's an airport here. It's where all of the cruise ships come in and do crew changes, and all of the commercial boats that go out exploring the fjords as well. So yeah, we're definitely the minority being here by sailboat, but we are not the only crazy people here. And the interesting thing is that as well as all of the aluminium expedition yachts that I was definitely expecting to be up here, there are also several other small fiberglass boats like Florence. So yeah, not the only crazies in Svalbard with a fiberglass boat. It's so busy on the dock that we're actually rafted to another boat. So we're tied alongside some new friends that we met first in Tromsø. They set off about the same sort of time as us, and we even saw them on AIS a couple of times as we were sailing over. So yeah, there's quite a few boats here. I think they get about maybe somewhere between 40, 50 private boats a year, apparently, in the area.
Now on one side of the dock we've got smaller yachts like Florence. Well, Florence is one of the smallest. A lot of them are mostly much bigger than Florence. But on the other side of the dock, you've got these huge ships, which are the luxury boats that take small groups of people around to visit the fjords. But you also get coming in here gigantic cruise ships with 3,000 passengers on, smaller cruise ships with still a few hundred passengers on, yeah, and then down to these smaller ones, which are the luxury small groups. I think it's changeover day today, because suddenly it's become incredibly busy. Yesterday there weren't any other boats here, just a cruise ship, but today there's a lot more boats in. It's not just tourist boats here on the dock, there's a lot of scientific research going on in Svalbard. And this new French research ship is going to be taken up or motor up into the ice and designed, I think, to drift within the ice and have up to 20 scientists on board doing experiments and tests. We actually saw this in Tromsø, and when we were approaching it, just couldn't work out what it was because it almost looks round like a kind of donut. It doesn't look like a ship, but that's to resist the pressure of the ice.
So this is the town of Longyearbyen, and it was originally a mining town, as you can probably tell from a lot of the structures that are around the town itself.
You can still see a lot of old wooden structures from the cable car system that used to move the coal from the mines down to the docks.
There are just over 2,000 people who live here in the town full-time throughout the year. And so there's a growing community of scientific research that are based here, and all of the service industry that deals with tourism, but also the administration for the governor of Svalbard.
We've come up to the governor's office to notify them of our arrival and get our passports checked by the police here. But before even coming here, months ago, we had to apply for a permit to be allowed to actually come here. We actually applied for that way back in December last year, and it came through in February. It's quite a long process. Quite a lot of information you have to fill out. You have to say exactly where in Svalbard you're going to be cruising, and that's partially so that they can calculate how much search and rescue insurance you have to have in case they need to come and rescue you. It depends on how far away from the main town you are. And we've been dealing with a very kind guy called Alex, who's been very helpful in dealing with all of those forms and getting us the permission to be here. So we're going to go in here, just let them know we're here, check our passports, and then we should be free to go and explore around the town. But it's very highly regulated, so you do have to fill in all the forms well ahead of arriving here.
The custom here in Svalbard is that whenever you come inside, you have to take your shoes off. And that stems from it being a mining town. So obviously it was very dirty outside, and so they didn't want to bring that dirt into the building. So yeah, walk around inside, your socks on. Quite nice. So there's a stuffed polar bear inside the governor's office. I think there's actually quite a few around the town. And I believe this is actually a small polar bear because I read that the size of their pores can be like the size of a dinner plate, so 30 centimetres across. I definitely do not want to be anywhere near a bear, yeah, when we're out in the open.
Just walking past this building with all the electric vehicles charging, and notice where the solar panels are. Not on the roof, on the side of the building, facing south. We're a long way north now.
Although we're now in the summer months and there is no snow in the town, one of the things that's really noticeable is the number of snowmobiles that are parked up. There are apparently more snowmobiles in the town than there are cars, which is kind of understandable because I think there's only about 40 kilometres of road. So although you can hire a car here, there's probably not much point in us doing so.
There's a big supermarket here where you can buy pretty much anything you like, if you have a big enough budget. Everything has to be shipped or flown in from mainland Norway, and the prices are increased accordingly. Luckily for us, there are a few things close to their sell-by date and therefore on offer at much more reasonable prices, so we topped up our provisions.
So alcohol is another thing which is heavily restricted in Svalbard, and particularly if you're visiting by a small boat like we are, because you don't have an airline ticket which allows you to get your special permit to purchase alcohol. So it's not actually possible for us to visit a shop and buy a couple of beers to drink on board Florence for our entire time that we're in Svalbard. If we wanted to buy a couple of beers from the shop, we would need to wait until we had been here for 1 month, and then we would need to apply for a permit in the governor's office, which could take up to 4 weeks before we got the permission to buy those couple of beers to take and drink on board Florence. But we can visit a pub or restaurant. So just across the dock from Florence, there is actually the most northern brewery in the world. So it would be very rude not to stop in for a drink.
If you can get hold of alcohol here in Svalbard, it is tax-free, so cheaper than on mainland Norway. But this rack of tasting beers still cost £17, which is $23 US.
It was definitely worth stopping in to try the local beer. Not bad at all.
Among the other rules and regulations in Svalbard is the requirement to carry a rifle for polar bear protection if you're going outside of the Longyearbyen town area. And to get a rifle, obviously there's a number of steps to go through. So I had to have a police report from the UK. You have to have some form of certificate showing competence with a firearm. And then when we went to pick this up from the shop in town, had to do a test to make sure we could load it and was being safe with it. You know, the normal gun safety things, pointing it in a sensible direction. And being from the UK, we don't have a lot of time with weapons. So it is a little bit new. I'm not used to carrying one around, but it's what you have to do here in Svalbard because the polar bears will hunt people and you do have to be very careful. The rules in Svalbard are that you're not allowed to approach within 500 metres of a polar bear. Now, to be perfectly honest with you, if we see a polar bear on land, we don't want to be on land. We want to be back on board Florence. We hope to see polar bears from the safety of Florence, but they can swim. And they can climb onto icebergs and catch seals on icebergs. So we're basically a pair of seals sat on Florence, which is an iceberg. So this really is, it's a last defense to, well, shoot the polar bear if it is attacking us, really. Something which we really hope doesn't happen. When you're carrying this around in town, you have to remove the bolt, or remove a piece of the action so it's clearly obvious it cannot be used from a safety point of view. But then once you're out in the field, you put it back together for defence against polar bears.
Yeah, you ready to go now?
Next time, the wind returns and we sail further north in search of Svalbard's fantastic wildlife. For extra updates in between these bi-weekly videos, and to find out what we're up to in real time, head over to Patreon and join the crew.
Continuing our voyage on Florence would not be possible without the support of our patrons. Thank you to all of you, and especially to our star patrons.